Welcome back to Dynamo's Dozen, a podcast that we bring you each and every single week where we talk about whatever may be on our minds, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh shocks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting that sweet talk. I am your host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, once again joined as always by my trusted co-host, my favourite and yours, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. And today we have a returning guest. That's right, the mighty Kenny Noble, Mr. WrestleMania himself, is back on the show to give his Mr. WrestleMania thoughts and opinions on our WrestleMania review. See, that is spoken like a true professional. That's how you do it, kids. Now, over to you guys. Welcome to the show, my friends.
Thanks for calling me a kid. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Kenny, loved the shirt. I thought I'd wear my Shock the System hat tonight because the system this weekend was definitely shocked. There's no doubt about that. So, but yeah, I suppose, listen, we have a huge show tonight, as always. We're going to do a review of WrestleMania 39. I think for some of the matches, we'll keep it top level and we'll be here till midnight. So we'll just talk about the key talking points and some of the bigger matches and stuff like that. And of course, we'll take our comments from the chat as always. Welcome to anyone there in the chat. We'll go through them now in a minute. We'll also have to talk about this merger and that Vince McMahon. Is he Vince McMahon or isn't he Vince McMahon? He's unrecognizable.
It's Robert Goulet in disguise, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely, with a mix of El Chapo. We'll talk about that. But as always, folks, when we get a bit of bad news, of course, we have to start the show that way. And of course, our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to the family of Bushwhacker Butch, who sadly passed away the other day. Very, very sad under very sad circumstances. Bushwhacker Butch, rest in peace. So another one gone off the list, lads. That certainly I grew up with. You guys might be a little bit younger for Bushwhackers or something like that, but
everyone. Jesus, I'm 38, pal. That was right in my. In the height of my fandom. I had the figure, the Hasbros, and everything.
Yeah, just to let you know as well, guys, we've kind of a shortened history this week as well, because a lot of it would revolve around the WrestleManias that most people know about. So I sucked out the other history bits kind of outside of WrestleMania. We have some notable birthdays and stuff like that as well, so we'll go through them later on. So let's begin. Let's talk WrestleMania 39, the Mania apparently that broke all records, folks. Let's set the narrative here before we begin. Before we begin, this graphic here tells the tale. Largest audience in WrestleMania history. A gate record, $21 million with 161,000 in attendance. Not 2,000, Tommy Tiernan, 161,000. Biggest social media views as well, 500 million plus social media views. Unbelievable. Record merchandise sales, double or some record 20% versus the record set, up 20% from last year in Dallas, which was huge, of course, with Stone Cold. And sponsorship revenue nearly doubled compared to last year. Absolutely massive. Everyone wanted a piece of this LA cake. Unbelievable.
Can I just say they're cheating a little bit, because in fairness, it's 161,892 over 2 nights. They've only recently done that. So I dare say that if we had had the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan over 2 nights, we'd have had 206,000. So there you go. I'm just saying, just playing devil's advocate here.
We all know there was 73 in the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan, which makes it 146, my friend. 146.
Who are you, the Dowdell Dandy?
I was there. I counted them.
Who are you, the Dowdell Dandy? Shame on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take some comments first, lads. Eno's in. What's the crack, fellas? All good. And Morris is in. Very glad the Demon swallowed his pride and put Edge over.
Morris is trying to come in at the Dynamo early on here, but we all know how that ends, Morris.
R.I.P.
Butch Miller. Kind of worms quite early there.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the return of Shane O'Mac, and don't worry about that. God, man, that man can't catch a break. Don't get me started on Tommy Boy. Absolutely.
Eileen telling me I look great. Fair play. Thank you, brother. If I could see you, I would say the same thing, but I'm sure wherever you are, you're probably looking great too.
Lads, we'll start quickly at the beginning. Theory versus Cena. You know,
Jesus Christ.
take Theory versus Cena there, top level.
Thank
real
God you're
quick.
taking it.
Nice hair on Cena.
Or lack thereof.
Someone say, I was like, yeah, I mean, he obviously doesn't give a shit, which is great considering he's in Hollywood. He'd probably just get a wig for whatever role he's taking. But I'd probably go back to the crew cut as tight as I could. Other than that, he looked great. Theory, everyone knows my opinion on Theory. Can't get behind him. I mean, he looks great. Don't get me wrong. It looks like $1,000,000, but I just don't get it. I don't see it. I think even when he talks and cuts promos, you can tell it's fake. Whereas, like, he's like, you know what he's like? He's trying to look like Finn Balor, but trying to talk like The Miz, but doesn't sound half as believable as The Miz and can't work like Finn Balor. So there you go. There's my thoughts.
Sums it up, really.
Yeah.
It was kind
Kenny?
of a weird opener.
To be honest, guys, look, I was hoping you wouldn't actually ask me about that match because I don't want to be in bad form for the rest of the show. But we might as well open up that kind of worms early, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. So on paper, this should have been amazing, right? Should have been. Really should have been. You could see the oh, no pun intended. You could see the theory behind it as well. What they were trying to what they were trying to achieve. But here's the thing: you finish that match, right, and you're scratching your head thinking, what did they achieve from that match? You ask the question: did Theory get over? Not in a million years.
No.
Right? Did it do anything for Cena's career? Did it need to? It absolutely did not. And I just think there was such a crap build to that match. It was like as if the two guys just showed up in LA, met for the first time, and just said, lads, let's just wing it. See what happens.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. And it was absolutely atrocious, to be quite honest with you. That's just the reality. But the most important thing, and I'll slightly disagree with Ian a little bit. I actually do see a little bit of potential in Theory. I think there's definitely something there. I agree. There is a lot of kind of pushing the envelope out and trying to be something that he's not really. But at the same time, I see really a lot of potential with him. That was the ideal opportunity to get him over the line, right? And to really do something with him and make a match that people remember. I guarantee you in 10 years' time, people will ask you who opened up the show on WrestleMania 39, and you'd be scratching your head. You'll probably have to Google it.
But that's,
because you'll ever remember.
That's a good point. Like, and I want to say that as well. Like, when we're comparing him to like a Balor and a Miz, like it's probably a little bit unfair on him. But people are talking about him like he's in that league, and he's not yet. So definitely, like, I mean, I'd be a fool to say he doesn't have potential. Of course, he has potential without a shadow of a doubt. It's just this isn't the right character. It's not the right. It's just very forced. So he absolutely has potential. He looks great. He moves great. He clearly can talk and follow instructions. But I mean, his character needs to develop, and it's probably going to go somewhere. Niall, similar to how we spoke about Rollins a while back. Rollins for years was trying to find that niche. You know what I mean? We knew we could work. We knew we could talk. Sometimes his talking went on a little bit long, and it was like the promos got a little bit what's the word? Monotonous after a while. And now he's found his niche. And I have no doubt that Theory, if he keeps working hard, because the kid does work hard, will find that. Just if you're asking me my opinion on him at this moment in time, he's absolutely not what a lot of people think he is, from my perspective. From my perspective.
Yeah, he's been thrust into a tough position as well. I mean, last year it was kind of Austin, Vince, and McAfee all around him. You know, this year it's John Cena on the opener. You know, facing arguably what some people would call the GOAT. You know, in terms of WWE in his career and longevity and stuff like that. And all. So, yeah, it's a tough one, really. You know, so and it was hard. He couldn't kind of lose clean as well, because obviously with the Make-A-Wish kids there and the entrance that was there and all, you can't have your hero getting beaten that easily and stuff like that. Although that would have been the way to put Theory over, but they obviously had to protect Cena in the face of his you know, he's their hero, you know, so I can see why they did it. But it was a weird opening match as well, because it wasn't a match that was going to get the crowd mania driven. So you needed that fatal 4-way maybe.
Well, it could have. It could have. Like, it had potential. I mean, very hard to have a bad match with John Cena, especially from a psychology standpoint. But I think I do hear what you're saying, Niall. The modern wrestling fan wants a bit of car crash and a bit of excitement. But I mean, you're talking about John Cena here. Very hard to have a bad match with him. And I do, yeah, I do. I think Kenny probably hit the nail on the head. It didn't look like that there was much thought put into this. I mean, a simple 10, 12-minute match could have told a hell of a story. In fact, sometimes the openers are the best way to tell a story. 10-minute match, start, middle, and an end, all about getting them over, getting some sympathy even from the crowd a little bit from Cena. You know, there's plenty of avenues that they could have gone down, but I think we've talked enough about that one. Let's move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're here all night.
The showcase one was one that I really enjoyed with the Street Profits winning. I really enjoyed this match because sometimes these can be kind of car crash, but it was at the right kind of length of time and stuff, and it gave everyone an opportunity to get their stuff in. And I'm big on the Street Profits, and especially Montez Ford. I think he's absolutely excellent. So I don't think there's much to add to that. I think it was a really good pace match, and I think it was a match that really kind of got the crowd going. The crowd were up; they were in that Mania energy then and stuff like that. You know, that you have to get going. Next up, Rollins versus Logan Paul. Two fantastic entrances, lad. How smooth was Logan Paul's zip line down onto the ramp? He landed unbelievable. It was like he was like a superhero landing, wasn't he? Really, the way it was done and stuff like that. But
Deadly.
These two guys knocked it out of the park. Kenny, Logan Paul.
Do you know what? You got to give props up to Logan Paul. And what I love about the guy so much is his respect for the business as well. Because if you ever listen to some of the things he says outside of the ring, especially even like he said, it's the hardest thing he's ever done in his life was pro wrestling. So it's a lot of respect, and I love to hear that, especially for somebody coming from the outside in, if you like. I'm not one bit surprised that this match was what it was, because we've seen in the past what Logan Paul can actually do in the ring, and he's so fluid. He can sell, you know, he can even tell a story. I mean, the guy is actually made for pro wrestling. There's no doubt about it. I think there's obviously room to work with it and all that, but in terms of the match itself, it's not going to steal the show. It was never going to be the number one match of the night or anything like that. But I think it ebbed and flowed quite well. I thought it was a nice little little bonus scene, KSI getting frog splash from the top turnbuckle as well. I was in a WrestleMania group there on the night. We're all trying to figure out who's in the prime bottle, and I don't know why none of us came up with KSI. It was the most obvious choice. It was definitely not his brother Jake Paul, because he wasn't big enough, but I just thought it was a really cool move. It was a good fun match. It was a really good fun match. As I said, it was never going to be match of the night or anything like that. The entrances were cool. Seth Rollins' outfit, I mean, Jesus, man, that was just that's a drip and a half, man. That was just that's a WrestleMania outfit, really. But yeah, look, the match was good. It was enjoyed it. It wasn't match of the night, but it was fun. It was just a bit of fun.
Fantastic match. I just want to also say, I hear KSI is a racist now, Ted. Just thought I'd throw that in there. No, I actually showed this one to my missus the next day, and she really enjoyed it because she had never really seen Logan Paul wrestle, and she was really, and you know, living with me for 8 years, she kind of pretty much understands the inner workings of pro wrestling, whether she likes it or not. But she actually really enjoyed that as well. I thought it was great athleticism. Seth is just, I've eaten my words saying I didn't see him ever kind of finding that character, and I'll happily hold my hands up and say, yeah, and I'm actually delighted for him that he has. But you could see him calling the match, you could see him talking to Logan at times, but not loud. That is, not so loud that you could hear it like someone like Charlotte Flair, for example. But absolutely, Logan, he takes instructions, he gets it. He's able to move. You could even see early on there was a little spot there where he was meant to come in a little bit quicker, and they went back and done the spot again. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Sean, listen, you're hooked in, mate. You're hooked in.
I wouldn't have said he's a bit. I would have said he's a lot. But I think that's why it works as well. You know what I mean? But even to listen to his interviews outside of the ring and stuff like that, he's so excited to be involved in the business as well. He wants to give it his all and stuff like that, And it was interesting. I heard him on an interview as well, and he turned around and he says, I'm not interested in any of these lads coming up to me in the locker room telling me about the business and what's supposed to happen, stuff like that. They can all get lost or they'll get punched in the face. He says, I have this business and stuff like that. And I like that. There's a bit of balls about him as well and stuff like that. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good and stuff like that. Yeah. Next up we had the 6 women. Lita, Trish, Becky versus Damage Control. And I don't know, first of all, if you've seen the footage backstage when Seth was putting on his ring gear and Becky was backstage and she was going mad. She goes, I only got this and you got all this. Yeah. And all, it was really, really cool as well, yeah. And Rollins turned around. He obviously hadn't shown it to her or said that to her because he turned around and he goes, I told you I was going to knock it out of the park or something like that, you know.
It was actually brilliant, yeah. It's a great little segment, yeah.
Really cool, like some fun stuff like that. I love when they show that stuff. But yeah, Ian, the women's tag.
Oh yeah, I thought it was good for what it was. A lot of these 6-mans or 6 women's can be quite messy sometimes, a little bit like a triple threat. If you have no real structure in it, but I thought Lita was in there for quite a long time. Actually, she took the punishment, so I thought that was good. The ladies, Damage Control, they got their heat. And built it up nicely for the inevitable. I thought it. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly the structure I'm talking about. What the opening match should have been. It was good. I liked it. The girls all looked good. They wrestled solid, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that pound for pound, technically, I think Bayley is actually the best in the business. Personally, She's absolutely fantastic. She never she's a 7 to 8 out of 10 all the time. Her work is smooth. She carries herself around the ring really nicely. Never see a mistake. She's got into her character. Now, I'm not saying she's the best all-rounder. I'm just saying pound for pound, I think absolutely she is she's definitely the best for me at the moment. And it was a great match.
Yeah, I think, Kenny, when I looked at this match, I was kind of thinking this is going to be 4 women on the outside mixing it up, and you're going to get Becky in the ring with Bayley carrying most of the match, but we were proved wrong. Everyone got involved heavily and stuff like that, and that's what made it quite a good match. And even though some of the moves and stuff were a little bit slower and stuff like that, so Lita and Trish could get in their sort of signature stuff, it still looked really, really cool and came off really, really good. And it really...
Lita's selling, by the way, was actually fantastic, I thought. And Trish's movement, she looked like she hadn't missed a beat, man.
Yeah, I kind of found myself, I thought I was going to pop for this match at a nostalgia level. And it delivered so much more to me, to be honest.
But there you go. I mean, there's a fair point that we just spoke about how prepared these 6 women were, and let's be honest, you couldn't handpick 6 better women right now to have competed in such a match. They were absolutely fantastic. But you just look at that match and how it ebbed and flowed, and like you said, all you want is a start, middle, and a finish. It's like even writing a book or a movie or anything like that. A start, middle, and a finish. That's what you want. I think that's what that match delivered. Okay, it might have been a little bit predictable at times, but who cares? Because we got that nostalgic moment. We got Trish and Lita in the ring. We knew coming into this match, even weeks before Trish even got involved, we all knew that this was going to end up being a 6-woman tag. Yeah. We knew that. That's how predictable it was. But who cares? It was really good. And again, similar to Seth Rollins and Logan Paul, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And that's what we want. That's all we want. It's that big fight. I think the one thing we haven't spoken about so far, and we're 3 or 4 matches in, is that it's that big fight feel generated in the arena. And what kind of really loved about the start, the first 3 or 4 matches of night 1, is that it reminded me an awful lot, aesthetically at least anyway, it reminded me an awful lot of WrestleMania 9, obviously on a much larger scale. But it just, for some reason, aesthetically, it looked like that. And I loved WrestleMania 9. I don't know what your guys' feelings about that one was, but it was just, from a visual, it looked like that. And, it's just the bright lights, the sunshine, and it just felt like that. So all of this added up into, each match was just, the first 3 or 4 was just amazing. And it didn't really matter, apart from Austin Theory and Cena, which I'm not going to reopen that wound. But it just added to the atmosphere of WrestleMania. I enjoyed it for those first 3 or 4 matches because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanne in the comments saying you'll love this one. She loved Sensational Sherry.
I still do. I didn't used to, Joanne. I still do. What happened? Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Joanne. Yes, Sherry was the goat.
Yeah, absolutely. She was awesome. Then we get into the first match, lads, that really had a proper solid backstory to her. Rey Mysterio versus Dominic. This is a match that I think they've done a real good old school family internal feud build up to a match that carries that bit of emotion to it. Give us your thoughts on this one.
I think I didn't if I'm not mistaken, I think was it on the day of Mania that I actually sent into the group chat that we should not sleep on that match. I think it was because I'll be honest with you, that Hall of Fame speech from Rey Mysterio is one of the most emotional ones I've seen, and I really loved it. You can actually see he's like a big kid through the mask. He's a real nice smile. You can tell he's just a good guy. Oh, it's just going down. Yeah, so like I was really looking forward to it. Again, a great story in the build up to it. As I said, Ray really just kind of got me, hook, line, and sinker with his Hall of Fame speech. It was absolutely fantastic. Great stories told. Basically, it was like a really non-boring run through his career. Do you know what I mean? But look, Dom looked good in it, and Sean's taking it very personally here, and I get it. How dare Dom do what he's done? But it's yeah. Look, I thought it was a good match, and I think a lot of people were sleeping on it, and I think it ended up being a pretty good story told, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and Sean's in. Did you see, lads? Dan Barry was one of the policemen.
He should stay one.
Absolutely. Now we're.
I don't know. I mean,
Dan Barry, the lad that I'm sitting in front row at an OTT show and tells me to move and winks at me like a kayfabe. Said, did someone give him the nod that I actually used to work? But no, in fairness, he actually is one of the nice guys in wrestling. Not that there's not many, but let's be honest, there's not many.
At least he gave you the wink.
He did. He is a good lad. I'm only kidding. He's a good lad. It's good to see people like that. They'll get a little bit of.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, CM Punk started out as a gunman as well. So
yeah,
they all start from somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Then we get into the business end of the card, as they say. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. Kenny, talk to me.
Oh yes. Right. And I'm still getting chills over this match. I love this.
Calm
match.
down now, Kenny. Calm down.
Sorry, maybe getting excited. Do you know what?
Bring your camera up a little bit.
No, let's be honest. We knew this was going to be an absolute cracker, and if it wasn't, we would have been shaking our heads, thinking, "What the hell happened?" So we knew it. We expected going into the match, but you know what? I'm such a fan of people being able to tell stories inside the ring. We don't see enough of that nowadays, right? We don't see, we've seen outside the ring these two clashing promos leading up to it was absolutely incredible. But what they pulled off inside that ring was absolutely, I just loved every second of it. To the point, I was asked there last week by somebody, out of WrestleMania 39, if you could pick one image that you were going to add to the book and draw, it was the easiest choice. It was that image of Charlotte Flair sitting on her backside outside the ring, applauding Rhea Ripley as she's standing over her. That was, to me, just like an ultimate passing of the torch. It really was. Again, the match was just perfect. It just started well in the middle of it. It was a to and fro. I love matches where coming into it, you'd say, right, Rhea's a dead cert. She's winning this. Nothing's changing my mind. But in certain aspects of the match, you're thinking to yourself, well, is she? And could she not win it, for example? And I love those kind of matches. I just think the two women absolutely killed it. They absolutely killed it. Rhea's just a monster. Love her. Absolutely love everything she does. She's amazing.
Yeah. Ian, it's been described as a generational performance which cements Rhea for years to come. Hard to argue, huh?
Can't disagree with that. Rhea, she is just an out-and-out star. She carries herself in a certain way. There's a certain swagger. There's a certain confidence. Now, we talked about earlier about people not finding their their niche, not finding that character that really defines them. Boy, God, does this lady have that? She is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it was just one of those matches that it started kind of like an old school pro wrestling match, nice slow pace, built up and built up and built up. And we got the Grand Slam finish and some heavy hits in there as well, and it looked like it meant something, you know what I mean, and it felt like it meant something. This was the big fight feel, basically, that Kenny was alluding to earlier. This felt like a big fight for the ladies, and very proud of both of them to see them, knock it out of the park, and should have been main event for me.
I love what you said there, Ian, about what it meant to Rhea, because I've watched this match 3 or 4 times now at this stage, and when that referee, when his hand hit the mat for the 3rd time, she couldn't hold back that emotion. You could see it. You'd see what it meant to her and what achieved. I love to see that, and it was just a testament to both of them. You have to give both of them credit, because you can't have a great match with just one individual. They were absolutely fantastic. But Rhea, man, she's different gravy, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole way, as you said, of passing the torch and the way it was structured was brilliant from Charlotte as well. It was just absolutely perfect. Then we move on to the main event, the first main event tag match in WrestleMania history. Triple H told us. It's been described in, this is a good one, of course, Kenny, we'll go to you as well on this one, because for me, this was quite emotional for me, because I followed both these guys' careers from early days in Ring of Honor, being a huge Ring of Honor fan, and to see these guys battle against the system and battle against the process to achieve what they achieve is something phenomenal. As shown at the end of the match, when they were both handed the belts either side of the ring, on their backsides on the ropes, and you could see the way they stared at each other. It was kind of very surreal to both of them and stuff like that. You could see what it meant. But it's been described as the blueprint for building, telling, and completing a story. And I think that defines it very well. Ian, how did you feel about this? The Usos are unbelievable as well, of course.
Yeah, that is absolutely spot on, to be honest with you. It's very hard for me to come on tonight and bitch about many things, and that's it was an incredible build up that's been building up for over a year or whatever. But yeah, I thought all the boys worked really hard. There was emotional, investment in it from the crowd. You got to see the two boys at the end make up and, be mates again and get the belts. And so whatever happens now, I get it. Is Acers in control of Cheap Heat tonight or something? I don't know what's going on. Acers taking over Cheap Heat, because there's a bit of a troll in the group tonight, isn't there, Niall?
Listen, WWE's just merged with under the Endeavor umbrella with UFC. Ain't no one going to AEW with that kind of dollars floating around.
It must be a slow night in Kilkenny tonight.
if such a thing exists. Joanna, of course, is asking everyone who's everyone's all-time favorite, so we can pop that in during the show as well. And we'll
drop it now while the ladies asked, because we haven't had Joanne in before. So I'll go first, Joanne. You're probably new to the show, but everyone knows it's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. The great Bret the Hitman Hart for me. Kenny?
Shout.
Listen, I've made no secret in the last day I was talking to you guys.
Hogan.
It's what you gonna do, bro? It's Hogan all day, every day, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was wearing a Hogan t-shirt all Mania weekend, so there you go.
I love it.
Noel, you have to answer. You have to.
Well, you know me, and you know me from being on the podcast. I find it very hard to separate Hogan, Warrior, and Macho. That's simply it. But of course, back in the earlier days, Flair, Horseman, Dusty, all those boys as well.
Look, you're cheating as always. I could have mentioned loads.
Got it. How can you have an all-time? It's a tough one, Joanne. Very hard to have an all-time favorite.
It is.
I can give you an all-time favorite, maybe from each period or something like that, or what way it worked and stuff like that. But very hard to have an all-time favorite. Lads, this match, I have to say, when the both guys were on the ropes, you know what it reminded me of? Remember when you were younger and you had a best mate, and at Christmas time you both kind of asked Santa for the same present? Everyone wanted that Commodore 64 or Atari or whatever it was. And you remember that feeling when you met up with your mate on Christmas Day and you looked at each other and go, did you get it? And you both went, yes, we both got it. And it was that kind of feeling when you seen the two boys with the belts on the ropes and stuff like that. It was just sensational. And it was just the emotion of it and everything was just phenomenal.
Storytelling. That's what it is. It's storytelling. And look, that's all we've watched. There was I don't know, obviously you must have watched the opening segment on SmackDown just before WrestleMania with KO, Sami Zayn and the Usos. It was powerful, but when you say that's the end of the story, I think it's only starting, because there was one part where Sami Zayn had mentioned something to Jey Uso, and it genuinely, I mean, Jey has been fantastic throughout the whole bloodline thing anyway, but it was something he'd mentioned to him, and it put doubt in his mind. And because of that, then I thought that, there's definitely longevity in this. But like that match on Saturday night, I need to see that again. Not a repeat. I need to see them rerun that again, because anything the Usos touch in terms, like I spoke to you on Saturday, Niall. Like tag team wrestling has always been my favorite part about pro wrestling. I love tag team wrestling, and the Usos for me are probably the greatest tag team in the last maybe 30 years, in my opinion. There's only the Road Warriors, in my opinion, that could ever top them at this stage. That's how important they are to professional wrestling. I think the story that they told in the ring on Saturday, lads, I'm sorry, but that was just incredible. It was sensational, and it was even just moments like when Sami hit the haluba kick, and then without letting him drop, he puts them back up. He's going for it again. Little things like that. It's just those small details. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and it's a difficult as one as well, because you get that night one, and then we have to move into night two, and I'm sure the guys sitting in the stands who were involved in night two are going, Jesus, here we go. Here we go again, and repeat the year before. Morris was saying Kevin Owens back-to-back night one Mania main events. Not only back-to-back night one Mania events, but knocked it out of the park. The job he did with Austin last year was phenomenal, and this year the same again. That man is creating certainly a legacy of WrestleMania main events. Unbelievable. Sean in as well. Match was unreal. Johnny Knoxville was in the stands booing Sammy for the entire match. I seen Johnny Knoxville's interview as well. Did you see the interview we did where he just dogging Sami Zayn and stuff like that? Kane all the way for Morris. That's his favourite. And Joanne, my favourite is Mr. Perfect. What a shout. He was absolute perfect in everything he did. Great shout, Joanne. Absolutely. Myself and Ian, actually, last week on the show, we were only talking about those vignettes still again. And they were showing the one where he threw the ball, remember? Where he threw the American football and then he ran and he caught it and stuff like that. Sensational. What a man. Unbelievable. Ian McWilliams in. Ian,
to this day, by the way, to this day, I still spit the chewing out, and I always try to go for it. Like, sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't.
Then you're ready to pick it up because you want to get done for later.
Yeah, good to see you, Ian. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you there. The triple threat in night two was amazing. We're going to get into that now, boys. Don't worry about that. So let's move on to night two. Let me get night two up here. There we go. Night two.
Some might say the less impressive night. But, on the street.
Okay. Yeah, definitely something there, all right. But of course, lads, we started out with Omos versus Brock Lesnar, so the narrative was set. This match getting all of the 5 minutes that it probably deserved. But very impressive F5, I have to say. That man is ginormous, even compared to Brock Lesnar. But very impressive, but probably not one we want to dwell on too much.
No, but glad we got the result we wanted and what was right. So, I knew straight away when that happened. I was like, Vince is either running this show tonight or he's back. He's back, baby, because
it was still better than Cena and Theory. So let's move on.
You could imagine Vince at the gorilla position where all those no counters and they're just going. That 9.1 billion, huh? 9.1 billion. We got the women's showcase then, lads, which was kind of more like a triple threat, as we know. Ronda and Shayna had to sit it out quite a bit because Ronda's nursing still that elbow injury in her arm, so she was really only in for the finish, which was kind of weird. And then, of course, right after it, the the narrative for night 2 began, because we seen Shayna Baszler then coming out of the ring with the boot off. Obviously, it hurt her leg or her foot or whatever it was. So the whole voodoo over night 2 had begun. And that was kind of that.
Move on.
Well, I was going to move on, but then, of course, we got Bobby Lashley for 45 seconds with the Andre the Giant Battle Royal Trophy.
I was going to say move on from that as well.
and one Bobby Lashley, the not so almighty, dropped a few tweets about his dissatisfaction with his use over Mania weekend, and absolutely we will talk about that, there's no doubt. So let's move on. Of course, we got the Bruiser match, the Intercontinental Triple Threat, Sheamus versus Drew versus Gunther. Ian,
this was very, very, very hard hitting, and very old school style. Wouldn't have looked out of place in Japan in any way, shape, or form, or in the UK. Very European style match. Good Lord, some of those chops were big, but I'll tell you one thing. Perfect, Joanne. No pun intended. One of the things that I noticed, like, Gunther didn't look like the big man in this, and he also got plenty of receipts. I think Cheap Heat was watching a lot of old school Raw, because he seemed to have been watching Stardust a lot. Stardust wasn't on WrestleMania, but there you go. It's like, Tugboat and Typhoon weren't the same person, but they were one-man gang.
He's Cody Rhodes when he wins, and he's Stardust when he loses.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, no, I think it was very hard hitting. It was very good. I have to say, Walter, as we call him, he looked like he wasn't liking some of those receipts on the old chest, if I'm being honest, lads, right?
No, not at all. I read an article, Kenny. Apparently, you could hear the chops in the 200 series seats in the stadium. That is unbelievable. And Triple H, after the match as well, he was doing a press conference, and he said, I've been in there with Drew and with Sheamus. Those boys hit hard, but he says, no one hits as hard as Gunther. That's fair enough. What was the comment? What was the comment he made? He says, I'm glad I retired.
Yeah, I heard that. I would have dropped his pacemaker into the back of his back. But lads, it's one of those matches where you knew again what to expect going in. I didn't expect him to hit quite as hard, quite as frequent. But he did, and credit to him. It's funny enough, there was a great picture. I know it was a Sheamus that tweeted out, or Drew, was maybe both of them did, I'm not too sure, of the two of them backstage after the match, and just sprawled out, covered in marks and bruises and God knows what. And it just kind of summed up what they had done that night. Do you know what I mean? It's funny because somebody almost let slip of the F word there a couple of days, just today actually, which were definitely brought down a peg because of that. And I always said, if you ever get met with that word, you show them that Intercontinental Triple Threat match, and it'll open their goddamn eyes. Because I tell you one thing.
I do think there is an element that you're going to be very surprised at this, Niall. But I learned this very on in the NWA days as well. There's no need to go that hard all the time either. Do you know what I mean? Because it is unsafe also.
Of course.
I get the occasion gets to you. Like, you can work smart and work hard. I'm not a big fan of just slaps for the sake of slaps and stuff. Now, that's not in any way to take anything away from the match. I think the actual way the match and all was put together was perfect, but you can ease up on some of them. I mean, we've seen the state of two of the lads' bodies at times, Drew and Sheamus, after these matches, and it's like you're just, no one wants to see a big white pasty lad coming out with just red marks all over him for the next 2 weeks.
But he certainly won't be doing that 5 nights a week. Put it down.
No. And I get it was WrestleMania, but again, I just think safety. I mean, I mentioned who my favorite wrestler of all time was. I mean, you looked how hard the likes of him and Dynamite and Shawn Michaels and all those guys used to work together. They never came out, worse for wear, other than just being fucking bollocks, because they're all into it. So it has its place. I just think, and I know Niall has spoken about this before, I think they could probably ease up on some of the chops sometimes, and because we've seen how many wrestlers have damaged their chest over the years from these chops, like Kofi and Jericho.
Jericho.
And,
Yeah.
it's just unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if it's in there all the time, it takes away from it and it doesn't make it as meaningful, really, So it kind of, after a while, it might lose its impact. But it was the one thing I liked about this match was there was no major narrative about it. It was just three hard bastards in there to kick the shit out of each other. A real old school type of way of booking and stuff like that. And what I did like about it is normally I'm not a fan of these triple threat matches because, there's always one person who skirts to the outside and becomes a match with a bit of interference kind of thing. But this kind of laid it out. This was pretty good as triple threats go, So really, really enjoyed it. But the lads, they knocked it out of the park, but absolute killer, yeah.
Also, Morris rates Sheamus but doesn't rate Finn Balor. All right, we move on. There's the level of knowledge. You need to come under the apple tree with me, Morris. We'll talk a bit.
Absolutely. Sorry, Ian, Goldust brother, the lad that fought the tribal chief and bowed at his feet.
I still didn't see it. He must have been playing them on the game then. Was he playing the game over Mania weekend? Because, as I say, Stardust wasn't on the show.
Did I say any more? If a picture wrote 1,000 words.
Oh, that's Cody. That's Cody Rhodes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The artist formerly known as. Next up, lads, the Raw.
Love you, Morris.
Asuka versus Bianca Belair. Sad story afterwards, lad, of course, that we heard the young little girl in the troupe who was dancing with Bianca Belair actually had lost her mother that day. The day of WrestleMania and stuff like that, which was very, very sad story, but came out and as Triple H said, it's a real testament to the person and the business that you wanted to go ahead, not let your friends down and proceed with what was put ahead of you and stuff like that. So it's really, really cool. Triple H choked up. Very, very sad story, but it was great that that girl got that moment out there in front of all those people and all. She can cherish it for the rest of her life, even though it's a very sad event in terms of the backstory to it and stuff like that. But Asuka versus Bianca Belair, Kenny?
You know what? Following the Intercontinental Triple Threat match and whatever your feelings are towards the hard hits, it got the audience gripped the whole way through. And my fear following that, anybody who was going to follow that, I felt they were going to fall into that category of now it's time to go for a tea break or whatever, and get yourself woken up for the rest. But you know what? Similar to Rhea and Charlotte, they knocked it out of the park. They knocked out of the park. Not that we should have been surprised because look who we're dealing with there. With two fantastic athletes as well. But there was some fantastic spots there. There was that power bomb, that sit down power bomb outside the ring, which I thought was a brilliant spot. Took it very well. Great bump. Again, it was a very, do you know what? It was a very similar type of match in terms of how it was structured to Rhea and Charlotte. I don't know who produced the two matches or anything like that, but it just seemed they were quite similar. And how they were pushed. Yeah, cracking matches. Do you know what it is? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm never really a big fan of a crazy amount of titles and championships. I understand why they're there for obvious reasons, but I never like AEW absolutely winds me up the wrong way when it comes to championship belts because it's almost like a participation trophy now at this stage. And what I would love to see is championships being, squashed together, if you like. And what we seen at WrestleMania between Bianca, what she done against Asuka, and what Rhea done against Charlotte, I mean, that's money. Bianca and Rhea's money. And it's got to happen. And I think that's possibly why the two matches were quite similar and how they were produced. But yeah, it was a cracking match. And I was very, very worried for them going into it after that Intercontinental match. But Jesus God almighty, they've done it, didn't they?
Yeah,
can you go back to that graphic there for a minute? So something I want to point out.
The producers?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do you notice the one lad that was given the night off on night 2?
Was that only because it was 7 matches versus 6, or was it?
I think he was probably given the night off. Because I'm sorry, I'm only playing. I'm just being an asshole.
I'll tell you one thing: if you look at the producers, it's a heck of a mix, isn't it? It's a heck of a mix.
It is.
It really is.
Petey Williams, I was always a big fan of Petey Williams. Little Papa Pump. Remember in TNA, he was so cool. Yeah. Love Petey Williams. Team Canada and all that good stuff back in the day. Yeah, lads. Then we had Miz and Snoop. Triple H talking very big about this. Shane O'Mac coming out. Does the leapfrog jump over? There's the quad on the ground, riding in agony.
Like father, like son, just in different ways.
He can't catch a break, wasn't it? Remember the Royal Rumble? Get out of here and never come back. Dad, give me one more chance. One more chance, please. Unbelievable. Never to be seen again. Never to be seen again. Unbelievable. But
stretched before you get in, man.
Credit to Snoop Dogg. You have to give credit to Snoop. He taught his feet. And
and also credit to Miz for allowing himself to be put in that position by Snoop. But Snoop definitely thought on his feet, you know. And H made that comment, like, there's guys in the back that wouldn't freeze in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest with you, Snoop, you know, being the professional that he is, and obviously most importantly Miz being the professional that he is, taking it and selling it like a champ. It's absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, and the talk afterwards, nice stiff punches. They weren't too worked either. I nearly took the head off Miz. And then the leap for that people's elbow. Good Lord, they need to take flight and land that. Miz being
give that man a contract.
Miz saying his sternum nearly collapsed.
See where Sasha gets it from, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Let's get into the Hell in the Cell, lads. Edge versus Finn Balor. Ian, you take this one first.
Well, I mean, it was a good match. It actually was a good match. I mean, probably the best version of the Demon in terms of the look and the character. The development of the character was absolutely fantastic. Fergal knocked it absolutely out of the park with the facial expressions. You know, him and Edge work very well together anyway. Edge has talked, I mean, I think even Edge talked about it after the match, about what it's like to work with him. Jesus Christ, I mean, what do you expect him with throwing a fucking ladder like that? You're just hoping, like, you're literally meant to go like that. I thought it was a bit, it was a bit ridiculous. But fair play to Devitt, being the true Bray champ that he is, basically tells the doctors to fuck off, stapled head, and gets up and looks, you know, that was the moment, wasn't it? Where people went, oh shit. But bad booking on this, lads. You bring the Demon character that strong back just to put Edge, who, like, Devitt hasn't been a sick note for a long time. And in fairness, he's never been a sick note of his own accord. It's usually lads either kicking him in the jaw and breaking it, or throwing him into a bleeding hoarding and expecting, you know, nothing to happen. This just made no sense. I mean, redemption for Edge, grand, but like, it really made no sense. And anyone I've talked to as well has said the same thing. It was a perfect opportunity for the Demon to go over strong, because he looked strong throughout the match. And well, I mean, the match itself was great. I just think the outcome made absolutely no sense. As I said, Edge is a sick now, and he's 50 odd years of age. Maybe it was the young lad doing the favor just to, I don't know. It just made no sense, personally. It was definitely a Vince call, I'd say.
Yeah, Kenny, what did you make of the discussion afterwards, where for God knows how long people have been saying, we need you to roll out the Demon for these big shows, at least the big four, give us the Demon. And then the reaction afterwards was that people felt that the Demon came across a bit hokey. It was a bit weird, wasn't it, and stuff like that and all. I thought his
I didn't think I came across as hokey at all.
But that was the narrative coming out afterwards.
It was a very strange, and I agree with Ian there. The booking was very strange. I understood the finish and why he went for that finish. He even explained it in commentary, to be fair, but it's still. What I'm a big fan of, I love the fact that they've drawn out the story for the last year or year and a half, whatever it's been. We'll say, I love that. I love longevity in storylines. I get that, and I get the whole, you know, the concerto with Beth and Edge on that famous night as well, and just wrapping up the feud. But at the same time, as Ian alluded to there, like, Finn is there all year round, regardless, right? And Edge, we probably won't see Edge for another 6 months, you know. So what? Finn is going to be there next week and every other week as soon as the scars heal up. What are they going to do with him? You know, what are they going to do with him? Like, I mean, where did he go from here? He's brought out his big hitter and he lost. So what did they do with him now? I don't know. I'm baffled, to be honest with you. I can't understand why they would go down this route, because there was still a little bit of story left to tell in this Judgment Day Edge feud. I thought they could. I think it's been fantastic over this last year. But where did he go with it now? I'm lost.
That Ian seems to be the thinking and the way we come out of every Finn Balor match from a pay-per-view, isn't it? Where do we go now? We had Turnbuckle Gate, we had various other things, and then the old man goes away. Triple H kind of takes somewhat control of it. It starts to build and look a lot better in the way that it's being done. He's building the Judgment Day really strong. The attacks on Edge and on Beth Phoenix and all this kind of stuff. It's looking really good. It's nearly parallels kind of to Ray and Dominic, but at a darker level. And it's going really, really well. And then it's kind of like, and it just goes. Now
it seems to be a Vince call, being honest with you, because we know
that's 100% a Vince call.
And I think H would have had the outcome of this match completely different, I reckon. Edge, realistically,
the only thing I will say is whatever about the outcome, man, Slayer, that was sweet.
That was cool.
That entrance. Wow, I did not see that coming.
It was good. Yeah. I'll say one thing as well. Those people, and the narrative is, I don't know where the narrative's coming from, Niall, maybe from fucking some idiots that probably don't know what they're watching. They'll call that hokey, but then they'll tell you fucking Kenny Omega is 6 out of 10, or 6 stars in a match and blah blah blah. They'll, if that's the case, then the Undertaker's hokey. No, if that's the case, Kane is hokey. Like, the lad doesn't walk around with a mask.
That's interesting that you say that, because what happened is, if you look at Balor's entrance, the place is still quite bright because it's still kind of daytime coming through that roof. And they had the same opinion, if you remember back with Undertaker, was it in the Levi Stadium? I think his entrance was during the daylight nearly. And it looked kind of weird as well. And people were getting on it as well, being a little bit kind of dated or hokey or whatever it was. So I think it was more that as well. But
I don't know. Maybe they could have made a deal with God Almighty himself and asked him to just dim the sky for a fucking hour. I don't know what some people want. These people are morons. They're idiots. They haven't a clue. They're never going to be happy. Like, just go, have a wank, and just enjoy the show. Fuck me.
Fair enough. Joanne's in the comments. Who's your favourite all-time manager? Has to be Bobby the Brain Heenan, doesn't it?
That's the only acceptable answer. Yeah, 100%.
Who else? Morris reckons it's Graham Potter. Joe Morris. Ian's rating this year's WrestleMania 6 stars. Joanna shared it out. Love it. And Morris back in.
Get out of here with that Meltzer crap.
There you go. Did you enjoy the bit of Slayer for Edge, lads? We absolutely
loved it.
Did.
I marked it.
Run-ins just annoying. Round's a good match. You have to have something in there. Here we go. Dino's in. How are you, my man? Some rumblings that Triple H wants out, and some big names are begging for their contracts to be cancelled. How can anybody stand by Vince driving it into the ground? I don't know.
He's driving it into profit. I get you, but he's driving it into mad profit. But I feel Dino's frustration. Me and Dino we're chatting over the weekend as well about it. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, it was only little things that irked me. Like, as I said, and Kenny alluded to, look, the Demon is going to be there next week. It was much better now to have him go as the Demon again, be a heel Demon, blah, 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 break away from Judgment Day, make it its own thing. I mean, the merch is going to sell itself, isn't it? Especially if you turn him babyface. And that was a great way to turn him babyface, because he took everything Edge threw at him, and he actually gained sympathy, because he smashed his head open. He's come back. He's taken everything Edge has given. That's classic turning a heel to a babyface booking. But like I say, Vinnie Mac, he's got a new mustache. He's obviously not having a midlife crisis. He's 77. I think he's just given the proverbial FU to everyone that's bothered him over the last couple of months. And it is what it is.
It's like as if they put Vince into witness protection, didn't they? And this other guy came out, and they're calling him Vince.
Stem cells are now coming to fruition.
I'm waiting for him to open up. Open up like one of those cyborgs, and there's a little alien inside him controlling
like the thing
or something like that. Yeah. Remember Total Recall when he was dressed up as, and he comes out as your woman going through customs or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. mad stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, Dino. I don't know. Is it the time to be getting out of there? The cash is about to flow, people. Ian McWilliams back in there, if only Slayer had played at Mania during the Attitude there. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. I'm enjoying the show, Joanne says. Appreciate it, Joanne. Heel turn by Shane. There's no heel turn by Shane. He turned his heel and he blew his quad. He's done. He's dusted. Fair play to Snoop. For a man who's on servants is most likely questionable due to 420. Yeah, absolutely. He was spot on that weekend. Yeah, he wasn't in the corridor lining up for the piddle test, that's for sure. And Ian's back in, I agree. Big ups to the dog father, yeah. Oh my God, Edge is still wrestling. Absolutely, Joanne, Edge is still wrestling. Not quite that Edge though, but still good, real good. I did enjoy that match. Fergal Finn, just awesome, yeah. Acers is in. Here we go. Vince McMahon completely changed night 2. Completely Roman Reigns was always going to retain. Looking forward to the rematch at SummerSlam. There ain't gonna be no rematch at SummerSlam, I can guarantee you that. Favorite manager, Bobby Heenan. Yeah, great shout. Absolutely. Bobby the Brain. Acers. Endeavor has to bring back blood to WWE. That ain't gonna happen anytime soon. I thought Gangrel was at least gonna show up.
Yeah.
Listen, you should know at this stage, whatever you're looking forward to in wrestling and stuff like that, and whatever narrative you feed into, think the opposite, because you know that's what's going to do. Well said, Ian. Yeah, absolutely.
I bring the truth, it's just what it is.
Then, before we get into the main event, lads, we had the Hall of Fame presentation. Stacey Keibler, the Great Muta, Andy Kaufman, Tim White getting the Warrior Award, and Rey Mysterio. Yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of a weird Hall of Fame. There's people in there who really in there, but I just think the makeup of it just lacked a little bit and stuff like that. Was delighted with Tim White going in there, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
There, of course. And Rey Mysterio as the lead was 100% right, and I was glad in the end Batista didn't rock up into that position. I was delighted for Rey Mysterio, Muta and Stacey Keibler. But look, it was just a weird one. It was thrown together quite quick. None of the names that we thought initially were going in arrived in, and that was the way it was put together. Let's go, lads. Main event: Cody Rhodes versus the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Kenny, kick us off in this one. Lots of pianos.
Lots of pianos. Entrances took about 3.5 hours. Look, the main event of night 2. I purposely didn't put anything out on social media. I didn't get involved in opinions and threads, whether it be on Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. And I done that on purpose because after the count of 3, I just wanted to kind of step back, digest it all, rewatch it 4 or 5 times, and just see, what did I really think of it? Listen, the match aside is what you expected again. Worthy of night 2, closing the show. The two guys pulled off an incredible match in my opinion. I thought it was pound for pound one of the best main events I've seen in many years. And you'll have your opinions on the finish. I'm sure you both have your own opinions on it as well. But I'm going back to the old school again. I'm enjoying this story. I'm enjoying this whole Roman Reigns, this tribal chief. And one thing that I absolutely love about pro wrestling is a sure dead cert is not what you get. For many years going into WrestleManias, especially Royal Rumble winners going into, you can predict that this is what's going to finish, this is how it's going to finish. They really went against the grain on this one, to say the least. And I think they've made the right decision. Might be unpopular with this. I love Cody, don't get me wrong, and I think the story needs to be finished, but I think they've made the right choice in this because I think there's a lot of room left to run on this story. There's no point, and I heard Buddy Ray coming out talking about this on Busted Open. They're very ambitious in what they're doing here because you can see exactly where they're heading towards. It's very ambitious what they're doing because if you listen to the promo on Monday Night Raw, They said, Cody, you're not going to get a title shot at Rehab. You're not going to get a title shot at SummerSlam. You're not going to get a title shot at Survivor Series. You named out pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. But there's one pay-per-view we never named out. That was WrestleMania 40. I think it's very ambitious to drag that story for another 12 months because we don't know what will happen between now and then. It could be an injury that will ruin it, and who knows, but it is very ambitious. But I love it. I'm in for the ride. I'm strapped in, and I think this is absolutely incredible. The match itself was a roller coaster because at any time when you saw Cody put him in for the crossroads on the second time, he dropped him, picked him back up, went for the second, picked him back up, and then as he was brought to the tournament, you thought that was it. And it was a poetic finish as well. It was perfect. But they threw a spanner in the works, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved Roman's promo as well. Remember that promo where he kind of that alerted me to the situation as well when he turned around and he said, Oh, you were the guy who left and went off somewhere else, didn't you? And then you came back. Yeah. And I was just thinking, remember when Christian came back from TNA? And it just stank of it and stuff like that. But it was yeah, long may it continue and stuff like that. And you're kind of thinking as well, if you think about, like, they've invested 3 years into this bloodline, and probably, how do you even value that and stuff like that? They weren't just going to wash that away that easy. The Usos had already dropped the gold the night before to the boys, so they weren't going to wipe all the gold off the bloodline. It wouldn't have made any sense, really. And then you could just imagine the guys at Gorilla Position, couldn't you? You bought all those Cody Rhodes shirts. Thanks, lads. Now leave in that river of tears. Ian, main event.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything Kenny said. I think the one thing that we look at now and I know you, Niall, I know you were only having a laugh winding people up about Cody and et cetera, but I think one thing that we did establish with Cody that he is without a doubt main event level material. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he had people emotionally invested in him. He had the crowd behind him as a babyface. Very hard to get over as a genuine, legit babyface these days, lads. Make no mistake about that. We're living in the world of real smart fans where every single thing is online.
Especially when how over the bloodline is.
Exactly.
Bloodline. Like, who doesn't acknowledge the tribal chief when he's in those?
Exactly. Sometimes they turn on you mid-match. Actually, you know what I mean. If you're not, living up to the standard. So, I think Cody absolutely showed that he is main event level. The swerve is okay as well. I'm with Kenny on that. I do like classic old school wrestling where some lad has just bet the mortgage down the fucking local bookies, and he has to go home and tell the wife we're out of here. I don't condone that, by the way. I'm just making a bit of a joke. Like, Jesus, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Even I'm not that bad. But the one thing I would say is a couple of holes in it for me. I'm here to not just smile and nod, I'm here as the wrestling guy. It made zero sense having a guy who's just been sent out by the ref, as Niall, as you and Jay used to love to say, you're out of here. Zero sense for the same guy to come back down, and he's standing on the apron as well as the referee looks at Cody down. And he counts to 3, and he's standing there raising Roman's hand, still looking at the guy that he's just kicked out. I mean, that is basis for a disqualification or at least a second opinion. So that's the biggest hole that I can punch in the ending of the match. And you can't debate me on that because I'm 100% right, and I think you would probably agree with that.
No VAR.
But you didn't even need VAR for this. You didn't need VAR. The referee's looking right at him.
He wasn't even subtle. Yeah,
it wasn't even subtle. Like, he didn't even step down and maybe hide under the ring a little bit or something. You know what I mean? It was just completely obvious. Why didn't
that made no sense to me either? I'll be honest with you. That was the first thing I thought when the referee had counted 3. He's like, he's got his hood up. Who cares? You can make out who it is. It's not that. You can't be that stupid. So yeah, I got that as well. It was weird.
Like, bring a different.
I was gonna say, lads, at least he got the hoodie. At least he put the hoodie on.
Would you stop? Would you stop? He dresses like that all the bleeding time. Like, I mean, bring. How many Samoans is in that family? You would have brought some other random Samoan back, like, and give that kid a chance and add him to the stable for next year going in. It was like, but no, it was a great match. Nice swerve, have to say. I think the swerve could have been done a little bit better if you didn't have that that obvious glitch, which is right in front of you. That's all. But I mean, that's only
Ian's
a
up there
minor
as
thing.
well. Ian's in there, which as well, run ins, interference, Jesus, Cody should have won hands down. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of these ones,
Makes
lads.
Cody strong though, lads, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh, yeah.
crush it. It makes
Yeah.
Cody strong
But
because
this
he put
this
up
is
with
what I
all
was going to
this.
say. This is going to be one of these kind of stories that runs out where the squeeze is going to be worth the juice in the end. And I think that's the way it's going to really play out. That they kind of like, I won't say there was a lot of
Tommy
narrative
Dreamer
out there as
style.
well.
Tommy Dreamer getting the big moment finally, on a
Yeah,
smaller
but
scale. But
but there was kind of the situation where it kind of rocked up to the Royal Rumble at 30 and had a kind of an easy ride in the Rumble, and then shot through the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and arrived at WrestleMania for the match and stuff like that. And maybe people were thinking maybe he hadn't put in those hard miles. Now he did tear the pec off himself the previous year and stuff like that, and also. But let's see what happens. It's gonna be interesting. And I think when it does happen, I think the fans now who are a little bit upset at the way it went. I mean, there was like, I was listening to some of this at the weekend. This was an atrocity, basically. I'm never watching WWE again. I'm cancelling my network, all this kind of thing. I think if you stick with it, you'll find that when the payback does happen for the fans, they'll enjoy it probably even that bit more.
Well, these were the same people that cancelled their subscription last month as well, apparently. So,
Or they use a different email each month. Just saying.
That's I get free trial. You've copped onto it. I tried to do that myself. It doesn't work. But it's one thing, guys. I think I'd really love to shout out about WrestleMania weekend. Is how well the Irish were represented over the space of with 5 competitors between Stand and Deliver, with Valkyria and of course Jordan. I love Jordan Devlin. What a man. Finn, Sheamus, Becky. What a showing. What a showing! Like it was incredible. Like what we got to see. So I think that was amazing. Hats off to those guys.
Bray, County Wicklow is a hell of a town.
It's a hell of a town.
That's an interesting one for my aces there. On that one, lads. The way Cody came down and he gave the weight belt to -1, Brody Lee's son, which was a real nice touch and stuff like that. And then you can imagine Vince and Gorilla getting onto Solo. Get over there and tear that belt off him. Yeah, I don't think Vince wasn't pissed off that. Vince knew well what was going on there. Let's not be silly, lads. Nothing happens on that show that Vince doesn't know about. And these people were ringside. He knows every single person that's in a ringside, so make no mistake about that. No, we've already had that. Just bring back Stardust. At least he was more of a nightmare. No, bring it back, Stardust. No. Stop that now. Right, lads, let's talk quickly. The merger. 21 billion. Been a lot of conversations over this, how the UFC is valued at 12 billion and WWE is now valued at 9.1 billion, which has jumped about 3 billion from its market cap, as they say. What's your overall thoughts on this? What way do you see this playing out? I think this is a very interesting move for the business, to say the least.
Yeah. I think it's genius by Vincent Kennedy McMahon. It's like, you think yous are just going to walk into a company that I built with my bare hands. I'm just going to hand it over to my son-in-law and my daughter. And if the rumors are true, we have to remember that there's rumor in the innuendo that the family aren't too happy with him because of, his, I suppose, extracurricular activities. He's like, well, a big F you. No, I'll say it, fuck you, because this is mine. I built it, and I call the shots on this. And you can't argue with that, really, regardless of what you think of the man. He's built it. He's the reason that Kenny's written a book. He's the reason that I wanted to become a pro wrestler. He's the reason that Niall runs a shop based on pro wrestling. So these are facts, and at the end of the day, it is good for business. I'm glad it's not gone to a Disney or something like that, because I don't think a Disney would know what to do with it. I think they would definitely, even more so bring it more PG, etc. I think Endeavor, they're in the fight game. It opens up many doors for crossovers with UFC. And I'm not saying silly, hokey crossovers like we got in TNA with, people like Tito Ortiz being involved in storylines, but he had no business being in a wrestling ring. And, he could genuinely kick the shit out of Petey Williams and all these guys that he was involved with. I'm talking about, genuine pathways for the likes of, I mean, you imagine Chael Sonnen was retiring at the time and he was still around here. I mean, that's a direct pathway for Chael Sonnen when it's time to go. I mean, you could definitely see the likes of a Conor McGregor making an appearance here, as Morris is alluding to. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, the wheels have already started on that with him and Paul Heyman. Guys that would actually get it in pro wrestling, like Conor McGregor, for example, just using him as an example. It's great for WWE. They've Vince has probably pocketed it. I'd say Vince has become a billionaire once again overnight, and he's probably going back to that promo with the famous pipe bomb and saying he's a millionaire that should be a billionaire, and he's like, "Well, guess what, kid? I am."
Yeah,
so
I'm after raking in all that money, and I'm still here, and I didn't lose my job, and I still own a percentage. This is like these guys handed me free money just to rebadge this stuff and wheel it in.
I'd say Vince has probably pocketed at least 2 or 3 billion of that. I would easily say that that's the case, and not only that, he's going to have a big say in the overall company as well. So
becomes a majority shareholder apparently. If, it's he just
of Endeavor itself.
He's back, baby. It's like it or love it, but it'll be very interesting to see because, there's a lot of question marks. It's not just look. I'm happy to go to Disney, as Ian quite rightly alluded. I'm happy to go to a Saudi-based backer either because that could have been an absolute recipe for disaster as well. So if it was going to go anywhere, this is probably the best direction for it to go. But there's always these question marks as to what happens next in terms of how the WWE Network / Peacock runs from this point onwards. There's talks of pay-per-views going back to the way they were back in the day, which I'm sure over in the States they won't be too happy with that. So there's a lot of things up for debate. But again, look, we can only speculate at the moment as to where they're going to take the product as a result of this. But yeah, I'm just happy Mickey Mouse isn't going to be running the fucking show, because if you can imagine, there was one thing on WrestleMania night one that absolutely irritated life out of me. It was on that sponsorship, that crude sponsorship of Rey Mysterio versus Dom, and that guy dressed as a cereal, whatever the hell it was, on ringside. If that went to Disney, you could expect to see that every week, essentially, and that's the last thing we want. So I'm just happy they went on that route.
Yeah, I think looking at this, most people would know that there's a synergy there and a crossover between mixed martial arts and WWE. We've seen it in the early days where they needed to step in the UFC into creating these characters and these promos and build these matches and stuff like that. Very WWE style. And WWE, of course, need to bring a little bit of realism back to what they do in their product in terms of storylines and stuff like that. But I think what it really said to me was that we recognize that people only have a certain amount of time available in their life in terms of their entertainment. And we're now going to harness most of that. We're going to trap you in here and you're not getting away, because now we're going to give you the two things that are really cool and you don't have to go anywhere else. And I love the interview that he did as well when the reporter, I think he was Wall Street on one of the US.
It was Wall Street, yeah.
Turned around and said to him, "How would your father have felt about this, Vincent?" And he turned around and he said, "He would have seen the good in it." And I just thought that was the answer. But it was hard to look at it as well, because looking at Vince looking like that is just very, very strange. It's just a weird one, but
we'll leave his appearance off for a little bit, because we'll be here all night talking about that. That's for next week's show, I think.
Absolutely. Right, lads, we'll finish up with a little bit of history and some notable birthdays then, and then we are done. Great show as always, and shout out to everyone in the chat as well. Absolutely brilliant. Acers, Triple H got demoted to Vince McMahon's bitch. That happened the day he married Steph. Don't be silly, Acers. That was never going to change. Sean in there.
You know what Niall said.
Child never getting into pro wrestling is a terrible missed opportunity. Sean, that could still happen. Make no mistake about it. They'll all be looking for that gravy train now. Those dollars are going to flow. Acers praying for Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar in the Octagon. That could happen. Bobby's not a happy man at the moment. UFC know how to charge for tickets.
Bobby.
Wonder if the prices will drive up for Mania next year. I hope not, because we're going to be on that road to Philly. So I hope not. Have you fellas up on the flat screen right now? Fair play, We had an interesting comments the other night. We started off on a 55-inch TV and we finished on a 75-inch TV in the comments. It was absolutely crazy.
Nice.
Right, history. 1995, Alundra Blaze won the WWF Women's Championship at a Monday Night Raw taping. And she defeated Bull Nakano, 1995. 2012, WWE Hall of Famer Chief Jay Strongbow died at the age of 84. Very sad. Chief Jay Strongbow, shout out to him. 1998, Rob Van Dam defeated Bam Bam Bigelow to win the ECW World Television Championship in Buffalo, New York. This was be the start of RVD's record 700-day reign. He vacated the title in March 2000 due to injury. 2018, Johnny Valiant perishes in a car crash at the age of 72. We lost Johnny Valiant, 2018. 1993, how could we forget it? Jim Ross made his debut as a regular commentator alongside Bobby Heenan at the WWF Wrestling Challenge tapings from Phoenix, Arizona. JR, imagine the career he went on to have, huh? 2010, Rey Mysterio, Ian, you'll like this. Rey Mysterio defeated CM Punk in a street fight on the WWE SmackDown taping from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. What a location. Chicago and pro wrestling just goes together, doesn't it? And of course, I'm going to finish with this one, lads, and I'm sure you all know it, and you know what the anniversary was yesterday. But of course, 2014 on WWE Monday Night Raw, the Ultimate Warrior appeared on Raw for the first time since June 99. But sadly, it will be his final public appearance as he collapsed the next day, as we know, outside his hotel, was rushed to hospital and sadly passed away. And of course, the speech he gave the night before still sends chills through wrestling fans. Nearly, he predicted the end of his life, nearly. Very, very sad. But of course, this week, we always remember the Ultimate Warrior the week after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Notable birthdays. Let's finish out. Lance Storm, 1969. Ian, you were talking about Lance Storm last week. It's his birthday this week.
Couldn't give a shite about that, lad.
That's why I put him in there. I knew you'd react. 1991, Chelsea Green. Shout out to Chelsea Green, the partner of Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder.
She's a great first name.
And actually had a real good showing at WrestleMania. Did some good stuff in there, I have to say.
Great first name.
Chelsea Green. Yeah. And 19...
Arsenal Green just wouldn't sound right, wouldn't it? Not Arsenal Green, like.
Yeah, absolutely. 1997. I'm your pappy himself, Dominic Mysterio, celebrates his birthday this week. Along with 1986, Charlotte Flair. The great Sika celebrates his birthday this week, 1945 as well. And of course, we finish up with Mr. Yoga himself, Mr. DDP, 1956, Diamond Dallas Page. Rounds out our notable birthdays for this week. Lads, belter of a show. Fair play.
Absolute cracker. Pleasure to have you on again, Kenny. Let's make this a regular thing, my brother. Great to have you on.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed it, as always.
And listen, I mean, we'd be remiss without talking about your book once again, where people can find it. And obviously, you had the signing at the shop there on Saturday. Heard it went very well for you guys. I have to thank you myself personally for putting aside a copy for me. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. You're an absolute gentleman. So tell people where they can get it if they weren't able to get their hands on it. I'm sure myself and Niall can make sure that we lead them in the right direction.
Absolutely. So there's bookworm.ie is the easiest place, I suppose, for any national and I think even international sales as well. There's links on my Facebook's Kenny Oval Art. Go straight onto that. There's a pinned post there which will direct you right to the source itself. Almost next day delivery too, guys. So you can't go wrong with that, which is always a good thing. But yeah, I want to obviously say as well to yourself, Niall, thanks a million for having me there on Saturday. It was mind blowing. The amount of interest that came in, the amount of people I was able to speak to. It was just, I said it all week leading into it. I says it was the perfect environment to do a book signing. It was the perfect environment on the perfect day. and everything just fell into place. And I really want to thank you for that. The support you've shown myself over the last couple of weeks has been absolutely incredible, to say the least. The two of you guys have been amazing. And again, like I said to you already, well, that doesn't go unnoticed. I'll tell you that, because it's very hard to get that level of support. And for you to go out of your way to allow me into your store to officially launch the book, it was the perfect setting. So again, just thank you very much for that.
As I said, you're not a problem. You're welcome anytime, my friend. That's what we're there for, to support each other and generate a little business for each other as we can and stuff like that. And the chap who bought the 5 books off you, Kenny, by the way, he dropped into me today. He had just posted off, I think, 3 or 4 of them to the States, to different people and stuff like that. And also, he dropped in today. I posted them off and stuff like that. One of the lads who came in, Niall Fanning is his name. Shout out to Niall Fanning. Great guy, older gentleman and stuff like that, but a big collector of merchandise and memorabilia and stuff like that. Absolutely loved it. He was getting it personalised, got photographs, with a lot of good fun. And it's interesting, Kenny, when you're in there, there's such a dynamic in terms of wrestling fans, isn't there? Between the age demographic and what people love and what they don't love. And at times I think say the internet or social media is quite critical of people and their love and their opinion of it and stuff like that. And as we always say in the podcast here, there's no right, wrong, or bad or good opinion. They're all just opinions, and we're all fans of this great business that we love and stuff like that. But you're welcome anytime. I had a lot of fun. It was great meeting your partner as well and stuff like that. It was lovely to have you there and have good fun and stuff like that. And it was as you said, it was a great setting. Great timing, great day. The whole thing just came together nicely, and we picked a good day for it and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely great stuff.
And me and Kenny will certainly run into each other soon for a beer, and I'm sure Niall will make an appearance on that. Niall loves a good beer when he can get it. So
whiskey.
And now we know what you bring to the table, Niall. We'll leave that one. It's a 2-hour shindig. Niall likes those all-you-can-drink buffets.
Sometimes Kenny, when I'm out, I'm on a 2-hour time limit, so I gotta get it in there. I can't be supping points. I gotta get it in there. Smaller volume, but more reaction.
So just watch out for that. Just watch out for that. You've been given due warning. But no, Kenny, you're an absolute gentleman. It's been a pleasure. And like I said, thanks once again. And like I say, you're welcome onto the show anytime. We'll make this a regular thing. If you want to come on once a month or so like that, you let us know. We'd be more than happy to have you. And the fans love you here as well. So absolutely great. And great to see the success of the book as well. And to know that book is now making its way over into the States and stuff like that. It's really, really cool to see, a man's vision come to fruition and reap the reward. So absolute pleasure. But look, that is about all the time we have tonight, folks. As Niall said, thank you once again. We're building quite the little following here, which is nice. If you're enjoying Niall's shorts, by the way, please do let us know, because they seem to be getting some traction. I'm going to start adding some in as well. Ian the Dynamo Kelly unfiltered for 30 seconds. What could go wrong? But everything could go right. So let us. It's nice to see that you're enjoying them, and let us know in the comments as well. If you aren't watching this live, be sure to comment on the show as well. I know some people watch this the next day and stuff like that, but don't be afraid to comment. And do make sure that you like and subscribe and share this bad boy with everybody across the stratosphere, because we're growing. We're not here just to take part, and you know the rest. So for me, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, for the shopkeeper Niall Hogan, for Kenny Noble, we are over and out.